Sai Ram,
Sai Ram.
Dr. Jumsai. Welcome to Face to Face in Singapore. It's a real pleasure to have you face to face, meeting a global audience in that sense. What I want to ask you at the onset itself is, as a Buddhist and as a Sai devotee, there are values in all religions. Buddhism has got the 5 precepts. Bhagavan has given 5 values. Do they merge, or is there more value to what you're doing with Bhagavan's teachings?
Bhagavan's teachings have given me greater understanding of Buddhism. So it's really something that helps me to be a better Buddhist. And this is happening all over the world, where Swami's teachings will help people of all religions to be a better religious person in their own religion, because we do not try to change anybody. Swami said, when you are Christian, be the best Christian. When you are Buddhist, be the best Buddhist. When you are Muslim, be the best Muslim.
I agree with you. As a Buddhist myself, I've become a better Buddhist, and so has my wife and my children, because of Bhagavan's given a greater understanding of insight, and the way he talks about the Buddha and Lord Jesus Christ, or even people like Lincoln. Every now and then he gives examples and gives you different insights altogether, you see.
Yes.
What are the 3 greatest transformations that have happened to you after being a Sai devotee?
Well, let me say that Swami has put me through many workshops to transform me. Okay, naturally, the very first meeting is very important for me, because when I first arrived some 24 years ago in Puttapati, my first sight of Swami, and I was a long way away, okay, because it's birthday celebration, and I couldn't get anywhere close to Swami. It was quite some distance away. But when he came out for darshan, suddenly I was shivering, I was crying, and I felt there's a lot of light and energy entering my body. Okay, and that was a real transformation. I knew that my search has ended. There's no longer any need for me to search anywhere else, because I was always on the search. I was always trying to find a guru or somebody who could teach me, and I was not satisfied throughout my life, really, because I met many teachers, many yogis, but...
And ajahns?
Yes, and ajahns, yes, acharyas. But it was when I met Swami that I knew that my journey has ended.
What clicked? Just seeing one darshan from a distance,
yes,
and something completely soaked and clicked and touched your soul, sort of the inner being of your core of your heart. What was it about this? Looking at our Guru, looking at Swami, what is it that entered you?
Well, physically, I felt a lot of energy entering. That there was light entering my body, and I was shaking, shivering, and crying. But it was peaceful, very peaceful. And I just felt that that's it.
That is a first transformation.
Yes.
Second and third?
Well, the second transformation, Swami wanted to make sure that I'm no longer attached to worldly things. At that time, I was a very successful businessman. I had many businesses. I was shareholders in many companies. I was president of companies. And suddenly, I lost everything. Just overnight, something happened. People turned away. Some of them just took the shares away, all kinds of happenings, and suddenly I had no business, I had nothing. Okay, so at that time I received a telegram from Puttapati. I was told to go to see Swami. and I was to give a talk for teachers in Puttapati. So,
were you involved in education then?
Well, not really, but...
you mentioned business, you see, that's why
yes,
I asked.
I was in business more than anything else, but before that I was teaching at university. So I kept up lecturing, but in my spare time, okay. But mostly I was concentrating on business.
What subjects were you lecturing on at that time?
Well, I still did some lectures in engineering, in science, environment, but mostly it has become EHV, human values, okay. It's already changing towards human values, education, and so on. And so I went to see Swami. I bought the cheapest ticket that was available because I was in some financial difficulty at that time. So I went to Puttapati and I gave that lecture. Then Swami called me, okay, to a private interview. It was not a normal darshan, a normal interview, but he asked me to go to his room, and so I went there, and that was an opportunity for me to complain to Swami. You know, why is all this happening? Swami put up his hand. I know. You've lost all your business. You are in great financial difficulty. I just want to test you. That's what he said. And of course, that was very touching when he said he wants to test me. And I realized that everything is Swami. Swami is planning something, doing something. And that was a real transformation for me, because I realized that it's all Swami, and I should not be attached to anything. What he gives you, he can take away. So he has taken it away, and eventually when I got back to Bangkok, everything returned to normal. I was given back everything. I was presidents of companies and so on, but this time I was not attached to all these companies anymore.
What was your third transformation?
Well, Swami had to get rid of my ego. So first detachment from worldly things, okay, and then he has to get rid of my ego so that I could work in his divine plan. So the third transformation is when he asked me to meet him in Vrindavan, and there was only myself, the warden, and my and Swami, just the three of us.
Murthy was the warden
yes,
there?
Yes. And Swami said, I want you to come back in about 2 or 3 weeks' time to give a talk to the summer camp. He's going to have summer camp in Vrindavan, so he asked me to be a speaker. So I was thinking, how could I come back? I've used up all my budget for traveling. So Swami looked at me knowingly and he said, well, only if you can. You know, he said very nicely, just to make me feel a little bit more happy. I went back to Thailand and a ticket was waiting for me. Okay, but it was for another trip to Assisi in Italy. So I went there, at least I have the ticket, and then I went immediately to the travel agent and said, please change the ticket so that it will pass through India through Bangalore, and then from there I travel on to Italy. And amazingly, he was able to change my ticket. Okay. It was business class all the way, so, and he was able to arrange business class travel all the way through. Okay, so I was able to go to Vrindavan to Bangalore with no problem. So at that time, I started to have a lot of feeling, I'm so great. I started to have a lot of ego, you see. So when I went to Bangalore, I expected that there would be some cars waiting for me to collect me, and of course there's no car. So I took a taxi and I went to the ashram in Whitefield, and I arrived in the evening, and I tried to get inside. I told the Sevadal, I'm a guest of Swami, he's invited me to come, and the Sevadal said, no way, we don't allow anybody to go in. Okay, so I tried very hard, but still the Sevadal insisted. Then a crowd was gathering outside, and they were whispering, they were saying, Swami's coming out, Swami's coming out in his car. So I said, well, now Swami will see me, okay? So the car came out, and Swami was looking the other way. He did not looked in my direction, okay? So I have no other solution, so I went to get a room. In those days, you don't have hotels, you don't have Gokulam and so on, where you can go and stay outside the ashram. So I got a very small room, and it's full of mosquitoes. I was bitten all night long.
You had an involuntary blood donation.
Yes.
Involuntary.
I suffered a great deal. But by the time morning came, I became humble once again. I realized that it's all my ego, expecting a lot of things for myself, feeling that I'm invited guest, I'm an important person. All this just disappeared overnight. I went in the ashram as a normal person, not expecting any welcome, and I went amongst the crowd for a darshan in the morning, okay. And then at that time, the warden saw me, and he said, "Where have you been? We've been expecting you. We thought you were coming yesterday. Where were you?" We already arranged a room for you, you see. So I said yes. I smiled, realizing that this is all Swami. He wants to break up my ego, get rid of my ego. I should be humble. So after that, I was welcomed. I had a nice room, and then that same morning I was told to go and speak in the auditorium in front of Swami for 1 hour 15 minutes.
What was your talk on?
It was about the various levels of consciousness.
Buddhist?
Basically, it's Buddhist,
Dhamma, yeah.
but it's really universal. Buddhism is somewhat universal anyway. So I was talking about the subconscious, the conscious mind, the higher consciousness. And Swami listened for 1 hour and 15 minutes at that time. So I was very happy, very peaceful, and I realized that it was a mistake, expecting to be welcomed, expecting so many things, and it was all part of my ego. So that was the big transformation for me, getting rid of my ego.
So you spoke about the Brahmajnanas, the attainment of jnanas in Buddhism and so on.
Yes.
But Buddhism didn't seem to have given you great satisfaction, because you're still searching for acharyas, for gurus, and so on and so forth. Or was Buddhism's freedom that gave you the opportunity to look out?
Well, as a Buddhist, we feel that as long as there were 1 million people, there would be 1 million religions. That is part of Buddhism, where there's a lot of religious tolerance. So I was quite free to look around, still remaining a Buddhist, okay, and everything is an addition to my understanding. So it's part of the search, which I felt was part of my Buddhist training.
Lord Gautama Buddha never spoke about God the Creator. He never entered into that realm. But now, of course, in the Sai domain, God plays a large role. How do you accommodate this?
Well, when I was searching and searching, I realized that finally you have to go within and find out the truth. And that is Buddhism. Okay.
Basically vipassana and so on.
Yes. And by so doing, you discover the truth. And the truth is one. There's no difference. And you start to realize that by definition, truth is God. Truth is something that does not change. What is true today must be true tomorrow, and therefore it will be true to infinity. And because it's true today, it must have been true yesterday, and so on. So it goes back in time. So there's no beginning, no end. That's truth. Now, the only definition that goes along with that is God. God does not change. God existed before there is creation. God will exist, continue to exist after creation. Now, in Buddhism, the only definition that fits in with that is Nirvana. Nirvana is a state whereby there's no birth, no death, there is no change. It's a constant peace. It never changes. Okay, Nirvana. So really, Nirvana and God is one and the same. That's how I feel. So my own interpretation is that by reaching Nirvana, by finding out about Nirvana, we are finding about God.
Buddha gave total freedom of thought when he said, Ehi passiko opanaiko pachaktang vihitabbo vinyohiti in Pali, in his own language, which means come, examine, see for yourself. Don't believe because the Buddha himself says it. That's not the way with Baba, is it?
Well, Swami also tells us, come and witness, come and see for yourself. Okay, he does tell everybody that, and Swami has never forced us to believe in anything. He also teaches us to go within, to discover the divinity that is within you. He's not asking us to discover God that is outside. It's something that is in our own mind, in our own heart. That is something that we have to discover.
You take one step towards me, I'll take 10, I'll take 100. Bring all your problems to me, and I'll give you joy in return. Buddha didn't say that.
No, but it's the same as giving up everything. Be completely detached. When you give up all your problems, everything to Swami, it's detachment. And certainly the Lord Buddha asks us to be detached from all problems, all difficulties, give up everything.
We talked when we began this interview about the 3 greatest transformations of your life. What are the 3 greatest challenges you're facing now?
Once you start to have full faith in Bhagavan, then really there's no more challenges. There may seem to be difficulties, but
what's the difference between difficulty and challenge?
Difficulties is something that you think for yourself, okay? A challenge is something that we need to overcome, something that we need to be able to go over. It's something that Swami may have set up for us so that we can learn from it. Okay, so when we realize that it's all Swami, then no longer is it an obstacle to us, because we welcome everything. Everything is done for a purpose. There's always a reason behind it. Therefore, we face it and we don't think it's an obstacle anymore. We smile, we laugh, we enjoy all the experiences that comes to us. So it's a completely different life.
But I'm sure you understand when I say it's more easier said than done for normal mortals like us. that we take it, we smile, and we fall with the tide, we rise with it, we take a tsunami, see 500,000 people washed off, and think it is all karma, when Bhagavan himself says, not a leaf moves without my will. If that is the case, where do you place such catastrophic sequences that are happening around in the world today?
Well, as we know, the world is coming to a crisis. That is why we have the avatar, three avatars in succession. Okay, we have Sai Baba of Shirdi. Now we have Sai Baba, Sathya Sai Baba, and now and then the next one will be Prema Sai. And we know Swami has said that in the time of Prema Sai there will be complete peace in the world. Now, in order to have complete peace in the world, and that is only 15 years from now, when we will start to, or 16 years from now, when Swami will leave this body, and then we'll have the Prema Sai era soon after that. So very soon we'll have peace in the world. And I really believe that that will happen. Now,
what are the indications?
Well, look at tsunami. Okay, yes, we do have a lot of deaths. 200,000 people died as a result of the tsunami. But it's brought so many people together. People came to their rescue. People came to help those who are suffering, and help came from all over the world. So through disasters, there's a change of heart. You know, many people in Thailand that I observed, they just want to help, they want to give, they want to, they feel that compassion for those who are suffering. Okay, so through disasters like this, that people start to come together, they have greater love, love starts to emerge. Just as in the World Trade Center, 11th September, the New Yorkers in those days, they would not even talk to each other. They don't know each other, they don't talk, they don't discuss. But after that event, they started to talk, they want to help, they want to do something, they don't want to have this happening again. Okay, so disasters are ways of helping all of us to realize that we must learn to love one another, we must learn to serve one another. So in a way, in order to come to that peace, the final peace, we may have to go through a lot of difficulties.
This is a baptism of fire.
Yes.
A part of the beginning of the peace that you're talking about.
Yes, but it doesn't have to be. If we have love now, then there will be peace tomorrow. And we only need a critical mass of people that have enough love. In other words, some 50%. Okay, once you have a little bit more love than hatred, the whole world will be changed overnight. We don't have to get rid of all the hatred. Okay, but we need just more love energy than energy of hate. Then the world will change. So what we need to do is come up to that critical mass of people. In the meantime, if we don't love one another, then through our own action, we are creating a lot of problem for ourselves. For example, we create a lot of problem in the environment. We burn up fossil fuels. We are creating global warming, and now we know that there's a lot of climatic changes taking place. The sea level is rising. The ice in the polar regions are melting, and because the level of the sea is rising, the mass of water over the Pacific Ocean there's a greater weight there, okay? And so the earth is no longer balanced, and because of that we need to have movements of the plates around the globe, so that we can have stability once again in the rotation of the earth. And therefore we have more earthquakes than ever before. We have more problems. Maybe new land will come up, some land will go down, and so on.
There's a report published in today's paper,
yes,
which talks about the University of Columbia and Harvard getting together and doing models and predicting that the polar are all melting, as you mentioned just now.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a 6 meter rise of sea level before the end of the century, and also a 2.5 degrees Celsius global warming, which is disastrous to even think about it. As a scientist and as a spiritual person, what's your reaction to that report?
Well, I read the report in the newspapers as well, and it says 4 degrees Celsius increase.
It says 2.5 in the Singapore papers.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anyway, just 1 degree is already a big disaster. Another 1 degree increase in temperature would mean at least 1 meter rise in the sea level. And the earth will not be rotating in a normal way anymore. It'll
be faster.
It'll be wobbling, because it's like a top that is spinning. Okay, once you add a little bit of weight on one side of the top, it'll start to wobble, and so it will help to speed up the change in the axis, or possibly a lot of movement of the plate, so that we can achieve stability once again. And therefore there'll be a lot of earthquakes and so on. Now, if we can all send out a lot of love, if we serve our fellow human beings, this love energy is far greater than any other energy. And with a lot of love, plants will grow, forests will come back very quickly, and therefore the temperature will go down again. Okay?
You talked about plants. I think there was an experiment you did with students who planted one side of a paddy field, and normal planters did their job. And the students did it with a lot of love, chanting Gayatri and so on and so forth. And can you tell us the result of that experiment?
Well, we showed very clearly that the plants that received love would grow better, faster, giving more rice than ever before. Actually, I did a very controlled experiment at Chulalongkorn University a few years back, where we grew like marigold plants. Okay, one plot we sent love to it, another plot we did not, but we give equal amount of water. We control very carefully the environment, so the temperature is the same, everything is the same, in the same amount of sunlight and so on. And the plot that received love grew and grew, start to flower. Okay.
How was the love given?
The love was given by the students themselves. They come, okay, and then they start to pray. They said, may the plants be well and happy, and so on. And they actually, what they do is to radiate light, love in the form of light, to the plants, so that the plants are full of light. Okay, that's how they radiate their love.
A mental radiation, and vocal as well.
Yes, mental radiation. Imagining, you use your imagination to help in the radiation of that love, of energy. It's really light, and they simply imagine that light covering the plants in one plot, but not in the other plot. And
the result? When
we measured the height, the one that received love was 49.2% taller than, on the average, than the other plot. And the plot that received love had a lot of flowers. Okay, every plant had flowers, whereas the other plot, they did not have flower yet. Okay, so it's a complete completely different. You can see a lot of difference.
How much of this love is transmitted through the education and human values programs that you do? I believe there are 57 countries with 57 schools with 35 countries at the moment. And in Thailand, you have already trained 60,000 teachers for EHV classes.
Yes.
How much has this changed your life as one who's fully involved in it and those who are thoroughly involved in doing it?
Well, you can see a lot of love flowing amongst the children. They're so loving. The teachers are more loving, okay? And parents are also transforming. So we have a general change, not only in the school is full of peace, full of love, teachers and children and parents, but the parents are outside the school. So it's spreading outside the school. And once we start to train teachers in other school, colleges and so on, they're a little bit transformed as well. Okay, there's a little bit more love coming. People who come and visit the school, they receive that atmosphere of love. They take it back with them. So really there's a general change taking place amongst the school system in the country. And of course it will take some time. The children will grow up. They will become our future citizens that are full of love. So really we can observe that love that is taking place.
What sort of curriculum do they go under?
In order to create love and the human values, okay, because love is the basis of all the 5 human values. Love,
Satya, Dharma, Shanti,
yes.
Prema, Ahimsa.
Yes, because love in action is right conduct. Love in our mind, you get a lot of peace, okay, and you also have ahimsa, because that is love. You don't hurt anybody, and once you have love, you raise the consciousness higher and you get to the truth. So love is the basis of all the 5 human values. What was it you were asking?
What is in the curriculum to teach them this?
Oh,
because they go to normal school as opposed to going to a Sathya Sai school.
In a Sathya Sai school, we also teach in accordance with the curriculum of the country, because we
follow the syllabus from the
Ministry
Ministry
of
of
Education. Use
Education.
the same syllabus so that we can take the children to the universities eventually. They need to have university education.
So academically they're at par. They don't lose out anything.
That's correct. But the difference is that we integrate values into all subjects. So values are part of the syllabus, which we follow, of course, the national syllabus. But the difference is the values that are there constantly.
Can you give an example which the audience listening to this program can understand?
Yes. Well, for example, we can integrate values into mathematics, into science, into all the subjects. Very simply, take for example, if you want mathematics, you have 32 divided by 8. What does that equal to? Well, the teacher will simply add a little bit. They'll say, my mother loves me very much. She took me to the market, and because of her love for me, she bought 32 apples for me. On that day, I went back home, and 7 of my friends came to visit me, and I remember my teacher teaching me to share, to give. So I decided to share the 32 apples with my 7 friends and myself, making 8 people. We're going to share equally. So I have 32 apples. I share with 8 people. That's 32 divided by 8. So it's equal to 4. So we give 4 apples to everyone, including myself. Now that is an example where we have integrated love of the mother, sharing, giving with our friends. Okay, so a lot of values are added onto the 32 divided by 8. And we can do this with any subject, with any mathematical problems or science problems, no problem.
You churned out 60,000 teachers in a very Buddhist country, Thailand, for example. Have you had any problems from the clergy?
At first, they were suspicious what we were doing. Okay, but then as we continue, they feel that we are doing a good job. We are helping people to understand the truth, to become more devout Buddhist, and so on. And finally, the Buddhist Association of Thailand, they gave us a prize as the most outstanding Buddhist school in Thailand. Okay.
Amongst how many schools is that?
Well, we have some 40,000 schools in Thailand.
That's no mean achievement.
Yes, and actually, I was given the award also as the best Buddhist teacher in Thailand. This is at a school level. Okay, so they've also given us so many prizes, awards, as being an innovative school with innovation in teaching and so on. So they've been very interested, and it's partly because of all our effort that when they drafted the new constitution in Thailand, they've added the clause that the government must make sure that education must contain human values. Okay,
that's very
it's
important.
Part of our constitution.
It's never been there before.
It's never been there before, but now it's in the constitution. So the whole country now has to develop courses with human values. That is why we are in great demand. People want to come and visit our school. They come. We have over 200 visitors per week coming to visit our school to see how we do it, how we integrate values, how we transform children and teachers, and they take back what they have learned, because it's now become law, especially part of the constitution. And we also have an education bill which indicated very clearly that we must integrate values, that we must bring out the values from the children, we must help them to be transformed.
You remind me of Dr. Victor Krishna Kanu, whose school was awarded a Miracle School Prize in France, while you're doing something at various levels in Thailand itself. What I'm reminded of him is that he had to sell his house to set up a school in Zambia. Did you have to go through that sort of trauma?
No, not really, because in Thailand, the whole organization decided that the national seva is education. Okay, so everybody helps. The whole country, all the centers in Thailand, they all come and help with education. We decide we are going to train teachers, so everybody comes and help. Some may cook food, some may donate some money, or some will sweep the floor, clean up, or do the stage, and so on. But they all come and work, okay? And we arrange this with various centers, so we go all over Thailand arranging training. That is how we were able to train 60,000
no mean number.
Teachers. Yes.
Does it you face the criticism that you're sort of churning out factory-like, 60,000 people come and they go. Are they really imbued in the skills of teaching these values?
We done a lot of research. Okay, people, they listen to us, then they evaluate what we have given to them. Okay, and we ask, we try to find out if they were transformed, were they touched, are they going to be using this in their school? Okay, and we received about 90% of all the people, they were touched, they were moved, and they feel that they really moved to do something in their school, they want to change their school, and so on. So we get that evaluation from the teachers, and because of that, we also observe that all these schools, they want to come and see the Sathya Sai school. They come study more, they want to study, they want to see what's going on. So they learn from us, not just once, but they come again and again. And I had to travel around the country also, because they keep on inviting me to go to their schools and so on, to give them further guidance.
Do the Buddhist clergy tell you anything?
Well, they've invited me to help train the clergy also. I give talks to novices, I give talk to Buddhist monks, and we have a Buddhist university run by the clergy, the monks themselves, and I've become one of their lecturers, helping in the training of monks.
Do they ask you questions about Swami at all? Any queries?
Well, most of the Buddhists, some leading Buddhists, are saying that Swami is a bodhisattva. That is in the Buddhist tradition, where people are incarnated to help the world. Okay, and so they believe, they have not said he's a Buddha, but they have said that he's a bodhisattva, where they incarnate from time to time to help the world.
They're also looking towards the coming of the Maitri Buddha.
Yes.
So the final Buddha to come is Maitri Buddha. To me, Maitri Buddha is already here.
Yes.
Shirdi Sai Baba the first, second is Sathya Sai Baba, the third, my three Buddhas.
Yes, my three Buddhas. Yes.
That's how I look at it.
Yes, very good, yes.
So you have cut through the clergy and all the customary requirements of Thailand, of course including government requirements. Now we go to the opposite side of the world, the Muslim world, which is not easy to break through. How do you manage to break the walls of Kazakhstan, of United Arab Emirates, of Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia, however? I mean, for the sake of our audiences, it'd be very fascinating to hear that part of how you manage to take this Sai message of values.
Well, really, there is an inner awakening from every side, everybody throughout the world. But you have to go through a lot of dramas. For example, in Saudi Arabia, it was through a medical doctor who's in Riyadh. He is working there, a Danish gentleman, and he happened to have very bad illness of cancer, and he had terminal cancer. And this medical doctor in Saudi Arabia felt that before he dies, he wants to bring human values. He's a devotee, so he wants to bring human values, Swami's teachings, into Saudi Arabia.
He's a Muslim by
No,
by
he's a Christian.
He's a Christian.
He's a Christian, but in Saudi Arabia, they allow medical doctors, they allow people to go and work there, and they have a big hospital there where all the Saudi princes, they go and get treatment and so on. So he's a well-known person, he's well accepted in Saudi Arabia, but only for his medical work. Okay. But his last wish was to bring human values into the country. So he contacted me, said, we would like to invite you to come and bring my colleagues, Dr. Judo and Sister Lorraine Barros, okay, to Saudi Arabia. So I said, yes, we are happy to go. He said he will arrange everything, he will arrange the visas and so on. Well, as it happens, the Saudi Arabia government, they don't want interference from outside. They're very careful. They have religious police where they watch very carefully that no other religions will come in. Okay, and so what happens was that they did not give us the visa. They would not give the visa. They said there's no need to have any training of any sort. And the medical doctor felt very sad. He told me, sorry, we have to cancel the whole training. But you can see Swami's Leela, that at that time I happened to be the secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and it was very strange. Swami has always been saying, you go into politics, which is very unusual. He will tell other people, don't go into politics, you see. But with me there was an exception. He has encouraged me to play politics. So I did, and I had that position at that time.
Were you in Parliament?
Yes, I was in Parliament. I was a member of Parliament. That's why I had that position of Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's part of the political job. So I went to the Saudi Arabian embassy, and being Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, if I asked for visa, they will give, okay? And they did give. They gave me visas to go. Myself and Dr. Judo were allowed to go, okay? So we went to Saudi Arabia, and the first meeting we had with the authorities, they warned us that we're not allowed to talk about values, we're not allowed to talk about religion, we cannot touch Islam, you cannot bring Hinduism or Buddhism or any other religion.
I believe you were given a very thick book of don'ts.
Yes, they sent that earlier on, okay, but at that meeting they didn't give us another book because we already received it, okay. So I said yes, okay, we'll try to abide by the rules. And so we started that training the following day, and I was very scientific, okay. I used science mostly to bring the values that is already in science. And
can you give one example so the audiences can remember this?
Well, I started to talk about, for example, information technology. Okay? In information technology, and I gave the example of the computer, you put in signal in there, you type something out, then immediately the computer will search for similar information from the memory, compare with what we have put in. If there's already some program there, it will recognize what we have put in, then it will work on it, and information will appear on the monitor, okay. But if there's no information available, then the computer will say, we don't recognize that, what is this, what are you putting in, and so on, see. So it's the same with ourselves. When we see something, okay, it's only a form of electromagnetic energy that enters our eyes. In order to recognize what we see, we have to use the same technology. That is, we have to go and search for something in our memory, compare with what we have received. Okay. Then we can interpret what we have received, and then we understand. This is information technology that is working right inside ourselves. And so I continue to explain in that way. For example, when we listen to something, it's only vibration of air. So if somebody swears at us, why should we get upset? Because it's only vibration of oxygen molecules of oxygen, molecules of nitrogen, molecules of carbon dioxide. There's nothing to it. So when people abuse us, say something bad at us, from now on we just smile. We say it's only vibration of air.
There's no more garbage in, garbage out.
That's right. Then I explain, of course, that what happens is that when we receive information through the eyes, through the ears, through the five senses, what we do is to go and retrieve data from our memory. So what we have stored in the past will affect our interpretation of the message. So if we watch a lot of negativity on television, people killing one another, fighting and quarreling, all this will be stored in our memory.
Which Swami calls telepoison.
Yes. So,
and also the memory is vasanas, isn't it, from your previous births?
Well, I don't go into that in Saudi Arabia, because
of course,
that will get me into difficulty.
Head decapitation,
but I explain that whatever we receive from outside, we store in our memory. And therefore, when we receive something new, we also retrieve from the old memory and we interpret it. Okay? So if we've seen a lot of violence in the past, then violence will come out and we'll interpret this in a violent way. We start to become angry, we start to get upset, we want to fight other people. So the process of helping people is to put in positive things. We put in things that will help them to interpret information in a good way. Okay, so all this is very scientific, the whole thing. Okay, and when I gave my talk for 3 hours, the teachers who were Muslim, they were crying. They were saying, "This is exactly what we need for our country." Okay, they accept it. They wanted more. So that paved the way for Dr. Judo in the afternoon, and he talked about the role of the teachers and so on, and it was well accepted by everyone.
So the message seems to go through Muslim countries like Indonesia, Kazakhstan,
yes,
and also the Emirates.
Yes.
But you did say that 40% of Mexico have adopted Sai values in education. That's amazing.
Yes. Well, you know, it's a job of the avatar to do all this, to transform the world, and we are preparing for that critical mass so that one day the whole world would change and there will be peace in the world. Okay, so things are really happening everywhere. Yes, many students from Mexico, teachers from Mexico, have come to Thailand and they were trained. Okay, they went back, they did a lot of good job everywhere, wherever they come from. In fact, in South America as a whole, there's a lot of activities in Sathya Sai Education there. They have more Sathya Sai schools than any part of the world in South America. They're very active people, working hard. We have 6 or 7 schools in Brazil alone, and it's springing up in Colombia, in Venezuela, in Chile, in Argentina, Paraguay, everywhere. So many countries are now very active in education in South America.
Thank you, Dr. Jumsai. But just to explain your name, Jumsai, you said, is a family name, meaning unity. Each Sai organization you go and talk to, they talk about, Bhagwan of course talks about unity before purity, before attaining divinity. There doesn't seem to be much of unity amongst so-called senior brethren of Sai organizations. What's your advice to them?
I've already explained to everyone that when we come into the Sai organization, okay, Swami will then work on us by quickening the karma. And in order to if you're going to quicken the karma, it means all the negative things will come out. Okay, so they're being brought out so that we can change more quickly, so that we recognize the divinity that is within us. So what's happening around the world is that the quickening of the karma amongst the Sai brethren, that means they start to quarrel, they start to have a lot of difficulties here and there, a lot of obstacles, because Swami is working on them and testing them, and it's a natural process where some will also fall by the wayside. It's the sorting of the wheat from the shaft, which Swami mentioned on the 60th birthday, that he's now doing that around the world. So this explains why there seem to be a lot of problems within the organization itself, but it's only for the good, and finally the organization will shine and will be the example for everybody else after a little bit of trials and problems and workshops that we all have to go through.
In a minute or so that we have got left, can you leave a positive message to those who have listened to you for the past hour?
You know, there's only one thing in the world that we need, and that is love. We don't need anything else. Love is enough. If we love one another, if we love everybody, we love the whole world, animals, plants, the world will change overnight. Certainly it will change for us. When we start to love everyone, then we feel tremendous peace, joy, happiness, and we are also radiating this love to others. People around us will also feel a lot of peace, a lot of joy and happiness, and they will continue. It will expand, it will change, and very soon we'll have complete peace in the world. So this is something that I would love to have everybody be filled with peace, with love all the time. So the message is love.
Om Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.